Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mystery Reads. This is going to be a new kind of video that I will be introducing into my channel, and I hope that it helps you decide which book to purchase next or to read next, because you can always borrow them from the library. Now these are thriller/horror books that were coming out in the month of September and October, and I got a hold of them through Libro FM, so thanks to them, the publishers and the authors, for providing to me this ALC so I could listen to these audiobooks and see if they were worth purchasing them and adding them to our collection. Now the books that I'm going to share with you today, I purchased them all for the library, so they're all good. But I want to tell you more about each one of them so you can decide for yourself which one is going to be your next read. So I have to start with my 5-star review, and I was losing hope in this genre and kind of the AI concept in horror and smart houses in horror. I just couldn't find anything that was a 5-star for me anyway. But then William by Mason Coyle came along, and despite my apprehension towards that concept in horror, I could not put it down. This was one of the best horror books I've read, and it's probably not because of what it is, but because the fear that caused in me personally. This is what haunts me at night. This is what keeps me up at night. And it's that kind of concept that it's claustrophobic, everything is kind of out of control, so you cannot control what's happening to you, and it's all the feelings that I want in a scary movie or a scary book, and I got them all with this. Now, let me explain a little bit about this book or give you a synopsis. It was released on September 10th, so it's already out. I am waiting for my copy here for the library because for whatever reason, our vendor Ingram has it back order or something, so I'm waiting for it, and I order on the side personally for myself because I need to have this book in my collection. I will recommend this book to everyone until something greater comes out, but I don't know really what can top this book at this point anyway. So we start with Henry and Lily. They are a couple and they live in this beautiful smart house. They're both engineers, super smart people. She just sold her company and they are in this kind of, I don't know if struggling in the relationship, but she's pregnant. So we kind of start with Henry trying to get closer to Lily. However, he's working on this personal project, which is an AI by the name William, hence the name of the book, and he kind of developed his own consciousness, which is really, really scary. Now, in the beginning, the things that he was saying was the thing that made me think of a particular scary movie, and I thought it was going to be a little bit supernatural, and I'm not going to say it isn't, but you know, I was trying to figure out what was this from the beginning. And then this Halloween night happens where they're going to have some friends over because Henry is agoraphobic, so he doesn't get out of the house. So this couple of friends, it's a girl and a man, and they're going to meet basically Lily's husband, the agoraphobic man that never gets out. And Henry decides to introduce them to William. And William starts saying some bad, crazy stuff and things that he shouldn't know. And it all goes from there. Now, remember, they're in a smart house with this AI, and you would think it can go completely cheesy. This AI could be dancing in the hallways and make it into a funny movie. That's not what happens, okay? So I'm gonna say this couple of things. It gave me the vibes of Chucky and Final Destination. That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's a great book, and I think you should read it. Again, I'm gonna leave it there because the twist at the end, you're gonna stare at a wall for a few minutes before you can put this book down. Okay, so my next 5-star book, and I really didn't know if it was going to be a 5-star because at the end, there was a little bit at the end that made me question if it was a good enough ending, but then something happened after that, and I thought, okay, now it's a 5-star. So and if you read this book, you'll know what it is. But this is You Better Watch Out by James S. Murray and Darren Wehrmouth. I've never read, I guess he's the guy from Impractical Jokers. I didn't know that he was an author, but now I need to read the other book. And I don't know if it's a collaboration with Darren Wehrmouth, but The Stowaway is my next read. Anyway, so this is a book that comes out on October 15th. I already ordered it for the library, and I ordered it for myself separately because I need to have this book in my collection. I feel like these two books are the kind of books that I would go back and read again in the future, and I want to have them there for whenever somebody comes to spend the weekend with us and they want the creepy book. Here, take it. Read it in your room, thank me in the morning, you know? Anyway, so You Better Watch Out his Christmas theme book, which it's not Christmas, but I think it's still great to read it during spooky season. And it starts with this guy that is, it seems like passing by this town on his way to his hometown, and he goes into the store. It kind of gives you, it's very atmospheric. It kind of gives you where it is, how it looks like, the feeling when you get into the store. And there's an older couple inside that I don't remember if he offers help or they ask for his help to put stuff in their van. All of a sudden, he's knocked out. But he had a plan for this old people, or older people that he met there. He really was not a stand-up guy, and something happens, and he wakes up in this little town that looks like a real town, and he's not sure why somebody would just kidnap him to drop him off there. But then he wakes up and he starts finding other people that apparently were kidnapped and put in that same town. This is happening during a blizzard, so they're freezing to death. So they're trying to find a place where they can stay warm. They don't really have to look for food immediately. They're kind of trying to figure out why they were put in this town and what is happening, who else is there, why they're there, what is the end point. Why would you just kidnap somebody to drop them off in some other forgotten town? There's this Christmas music in the background that is giving you this atmospheric creepy thing, and I guess it's the song You Better Watch Out, You Better, and creepy things will happen here. It is kind of what you would see in, if you ever watch The Walking Dead, where they're trying to, stick together and survive, and at the same time they're learning what each one of them did, and then at the end they have to put the pieces together to find out what happened. Escape this place. How can they escape? There's a lot of different traps around them where they will die if they get there, and it's just a claustrophobic, you're stuck in this town, you don't know why, and you're trying to figure it out. However, horrible things happen. I don't feel like it's too gory, like it doesn't give you the details, but it tells you enough of what happened to each one of these people. In the end, the twist is kind of crazy. You're gonna have to suspend your disbelief, but I thought it worked for what it was. And like I said, my 5-star reviews is if they keep me entertained from chapter 1 till the end, that's a 5-star for me, because that's what I want in a book, something that kept me wondering, kept me entertained, and wanting to come back to the same book every single night. The next 2 books I'm going to recommend are only 3 stars for me. but there's nothing wrong with the written style. It's just a personal preference. That's why it's a 3-star for me, because they weren't as entertaining as the other previous 2 books that I mentioned. However, I also did audiobooks for this other 2, and the audiobooks are amazing. I do have the copies, and this is the proof. Even though they are 3 stars for me particularly, I think they will be 5-star for somebody else that has a different taste in the storyline itself. So let me get started with So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. This one also came out on September 10th. I did the audiobook. You have to listen to the audiobook if you do audiobooks, because it's great. I think that the narrators do a great job. And I think that if I was entertained throughout this book, even though it wasn't the kind of book I like, it was because of the narration. I think it made it really go fast. And another thing I wanted to mention, You Better Watch Out, the previous book I reviewed, and William, I read them both, or in audio, in one day. And this I read in one day, and this too. So these are books that were entertaining. It's just that they're kind of a different vibe. Now, this is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. And this is the story of, let me remember her name, Sloane. Sloane is, I think she's in her like 30s, and she's starting to see things that she doesn't like in her face. Her body's changing, so she's not happy about her birthday. So what does her husband do? He decides to buy her a retreat with her friend in this beautiful place, kind of isolated. And instead of going with her, which red flag, he actually buys a ticket for her friend. And her friend name is Naomi. So Sloane and Naomi decide to go to this place. I think let me finish the synopsis. So they go to this place. Naomi is wild. She lives in Europe. She travels with this band. She's the manager. She has money. She made choices that maybe Sloane didn't. Sloane feel like her life is very boring. She is boring. She doesn't look as great as her friend, but they do love each other. They're just polar opposites. And so they decide to go to this place. They get there, and Sloane has an idea of fun. We're going to be drinking, going out, kind of weekend. But Naomi wants to really party. Like, I'm telling you, party, boys, drinking, maybe drugs, all that kind of stuff. So one night, Naomi decides to go to this one place with all these guys and have to a party. Now, I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's here in the synopsis. Once they go there, because I feel like people don't tell you this, even though you kind of get an idea of what this is by the cover. But people don't tell you that they go to this party and they are turned into vampires. And again, it's in the synopsis. But the scene of what happened and how they were turned, it's not what you think, because I feel like these vampires are not your typical vampires, the evil ones that want to drink your blood and drain you and kill you. No, maybe that's why this wasn't the kind of book that I was expecting. Even though the writing is amazing, the people feel real, even though the relationship really doesn't resonate with me, because personally, I wouldn't have a friend that is that opposite of me, that has the power to drag me to whatever she wants to do. So I feel like, even though this feels like the kind of person that exists, it's just not, it's not something that I can see happening in my personal life. And again, that's my personal preference. So anyway, the story of the book, that happens pretty early on the book. This is not a super long book. It's only 300 pages, I think. Let's see, 287. So I feel like it happens pretty quickly. It does have kind of too much smut for me in that particular scene where all this is happening, like the visuals that I got from the audiobook were kind of nasty. I'm sorry, I just don't like smut in my horror books, or books in general that I like. They usually don't involve any kind of smut, but this was the kind of book that involved that, so I was kind of put off in that part. So I just, and then on top of that, again, that scene gets good because something happens to one of them, because it's wandering in the house and finds something, and then the other one needs to make a decision. Okay, that part was great. Up until that point, I was good. Then the rest of the book, we explore what they decide to do with what they become. And it's more about the friendship, the decisions that they make, facing the decisions that they made before. And maybe that's where I got lost a little bit, because I thought that it was more character driven at that time than plot driven. And as you can tell, what I really enjoy is a good plot, a really smart plot, or something that I think it's going to be super smart, even though at the end can look a little silly. This was more about their relationship, what they wanted to do with this new thirst that they got. One wanted to do one thing, the other wanted to do another thing. Do we go alone? Do we go with people? And that's pretty much the end. And at the end of the book, there's not a crazy twist. It's only kind of the resolution of their friendship. So if you like Rachel Harrison, which I know a lot of people love her writing, then I'm sure that this is going to be a book that you're going to enjoy. I only gave it 3 stars, and it was an okay book because this is not the kind of horror I enjoy particularly, but I can see how a lot of people will really love it. Okay, the next book and final one is called Graveyard Shift. Again, this is another 3-star, and let me tell you, Graveyard Shift was released on September 24th, and I also did the audiobook, and I thought the audiobook was great. This is a novella, so I think it's 100 and maybe 26 pages, so it's not that long for a novella. So this covers the story of different people, and I can't give you more than what I'm gonna give you here and my thoughts at the end, because it's too short to give a lot more. But if you want to follow my Goodreads and you want more information, I'll have a link down below. You can read my full review on this. But Graveyard Shift is about this characters, really, that meet at the graveyard to smoke, because one works at this one place where you have to be 100 feet away from any building. This other person has other reasons to go to this graveyard at night. This is a dilapidated graveyard where there's a church. The church is supposed to be protected from being demolished, but really it's not being restored or anything. Something is happening inside that church, but it all starts, the first scene is that they meet at the graveyard and they find a deep hole where they're wondering what the heck is happening. And what's inside that hole, it's creepier than the cover. That's all I'm gonna say. So this was a 3-star because I thought that it was really well written. I think it's a smart book, but it's not the kind of horror book that keeps me up at night. So of course it kept me somewhat entertained because it was a short book. But I do think that Emily Rio has its own fan base, that I'm sure people are just waiting for this book to come out. And I thought it was an okay book. It just wasn't the kind of fear that triggers something in my brain, and it kept me reading because of that. So a really good book, well written, just not the kind of horror that scares me anyway. So those are 4 new releases, horror/thrillers, that I think you should check out. Hopefully I gave you enough information to decide for yourself if this is something that you need to add to your personal collection. If you are new to the channel and you enjoy this kind of content, please remember to subscribe. I would love to have you around, and stay tuned because there will be book haul for the library coming next. So thanks again for being here. And remember to like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.